Namaste and pranam, Dilip ji. Welcome to Voice of Sanatan Hinduism radio show. And we've been airing since 20 plus years in Texas, promoting Hinduism. And it's I'm honored and it's my pleasure to interview an author of the book known as Interfaith Marriages. Not only the author, but a good human being who took on a mission, a thoughtful mission to create awareness of interfaith marriages and according to the trends, I should say, a modern society, the challenges that interfaith marriages are facing, might face. So welcome again to Voice of Sanatan Hinduism. How are you doing today, sir?
Good. Namaste. Thank you for this invitation.
Dr. Dilip Aminji is not only the author of Interfaith Marriages, but he's also the director of the Peninsula Multi-Faith Coalition of the San Francisco Bay Area, certified speaker at Islamic network groups, and Dharma ambassador of the Hindu American Foundation, co-founder of Hindu Wedding Ceremony. That's really very beautiful. You have so many titles, so many positions here. I can see like you're so experienced, and you've been, this book is out like for about 14 years now.
2 years. I've been working for 14 years.
You've been working on interfaith marriages for 14 years and your book was out 2 years back.
Correct.
And you've guided about 1,200 people already.
That is correct.
Counseled. And you also have a website, interfaithshadi.org.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So is that the place where a lot of the counseling happens, or?
It is all web-based. So all those 1,200 youths experiences, they are all available for everyone to review.
Great. So Dilip ji, I really liked your book. I met you personally a year back, and I got your book also. I do have it with me right now, Interfaith Marriages, and it's also available on Amazon. Mm-hmm. And it's only available for $2.99 on Amazon. I just checked it. It's a very good price. Your book actually not only tells about interfaith marriage challenges, but it also gives a perspective of each religion very briefly. And in the introduction, you actually categorized all faiths into Abrahamic and Dharmic faiths. Can you shed some light on what do you mean by Abrahamic faiths, and what is Dharmic faiths, and what are the main things that people have to know about this?
Correct. There is a major difference between these two faiths. In India, we know these Hindus, Sikhs, Buddhists, and Jains. All they are different religion, but still they have a lot more similarities. Versus the other three faiths came from the Middle East, and that is, there was one Judaism first, and there was a Jew. Jesus, he himself was a Jew. He started making reform. Ultimately, he was hanged, and later on that becomes the Christianity. In 600, roughly roundabout, Muhammad came, and he started getting the revelations from God, and that becomes the Quran. So Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, these are three, you can say very briefly, those are the three sons of Father Abraham. So they have a lot more similarities, and yes, they have a lot of differences too. So when a Dharmic in love relationship with Abrahamic, that's my experience and interest.
That's the major, that's what you think the major conflict comes in, right?
Any marriage itself is a conflict. And there are a lot of conflicts, and even married people knows it well that it never ends. Mm-hmm. It's only thing when you have two religions together, it adds the complexity. And I'm not trying to discourage people from interfaith marriage. I'm not for or against it. But when you are in interfaith marriage, don't jump in blindly. Ask very poking questions and find it out where you stand. And if you did this thing, you have a good chance of having a successful interfaith marriage.
So your sole objective, I realize your sole objective of this book is to guide people who get into interfaith marriages, interfaith relationships, And your main focus is having mutual respect, giving space, and equality. You mentioned equality and freedom to practice religion is something that I see. You're not like, your book is not biased on any religion. Just because you're Hindu, you didn't write about Hinduism more than any other faith. But I also see some testimonials here in the back, which are beautiful because they are from all faiths. What is conversion? What people have to know. Suppose an Indian, for example, a Hindu is dating a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
So what should they know primarily? Converting themselves or the children, about the children. Are there any agreements involved? How does an institution play here in their relationship?
Yep. Good point. First of all, those three Abrahamic faiths, Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, those are exclusivist, supremacist faith. They believe that they are superior religion. For example, Jews believes that we are the chosen people. Christian believes that only Jesus saves, nobody else. Meaning even Mahatma Gandhi, they don't know what is the future of him will be on the judgment day. And naturally, Muslims believe that it's only those who are Quran believers, they will be saved on the judgment day. So because they are supremacist, exclusivist ideology, so when they marry a Hindu, they will want the Hindu to convert to
their religion.
Correct. And when you convert, meaning what Abrahamic faiths, what they will tell you that if you raise children in two faiths, children will get confused. I have not heard when Jain and Hindu, they marry, because I know that they take to Derasara and they take to Hindu mandirs. They are taught from Jain scriptures and Hindu scriptures. The children are not confused. But when a Muslim and a Christians or a Jew and a Muslim, when they marry, because each of them are exclusivist faith.
There's a conflict there.
So when you tell a child that Jesus is the Son of God, and the Quran says that to believe that Jesus is the Son of a God is a monstrous falsehood. Meaning it's a conflict right there. A Jew is marrying a Christian, then right away Jews believe in God as a Nirankari. There is no shape, no name, nothing. And when you start seeing God a form, like Jesus as a Son of God, all of a sudden there is a fundamental conflict. The bottom line is when Jews, Christian or Muslim, they marry Hindus, they will want them to convert their own faith, and, meaning you are no more a Hindu. So there is no more conflicts remain. It's only goes one way only. So it's only my way or highway. Now, I'm not saying this is universal. I would say 70% of Christians or even more, they don't believe in this anymore. And they truly respect Hindu 100% and their faiths. But when you are marrying to somebody, you are only marrying to one person. How do you know that that person is not a religious fanatic? Yes, he's saying rara. So what my taste is, I want to find out if that person is religious fanatic, and only ask that my children will never be baptized. I'll be the best Christian ever you can think of. I will have the best Christmas tree. I will feed most people. We'll have the biggest Jesus photo. We will have Easter hunts, and we will do everything. And we will read Bible every day. But we will not baptize our children. I will not baptize.
So what is
the baptism? The deep in water labeling has to do with our love. Let the love ride, not the baptism.
Yes.
And if the other party is a religious fanatic, exclusivist supremacist, they will just walk away of this relationship. So that's my message.
Yeah, that might create a lot of emotional trauma because the person who is dating a Christian might not have known about all these things. They might have not looked into that.
And that is the main problem. Many times you are dating for 3 to 10 years and this question does not come up. Only 6 months before, all of a sudden, it's not me, it's my mother who wants, it's not for it. Can you just bullshit? That should not be that way. Hindu must be adamant. I will not baptize, I will not convert, keep that labeling out. I am willing to do everything else. And if that Parsi insists on it, then you have to worry about your future.
What is prenuptial agreement? Does it exist in Christianity as well as Muslims? Because we are not aware of it. Hindus don't have any.
Hindus has to clearly know whatever you do, it has a clear legal consequences. We live in America where divorce rates are, 50, 60, 70%. So things can happen later on. Let's say you married in a Christian church, in a Catholic church. The party says you will have to sign a prenuptial agreement. That's a requirement of a Catholic church, that the children will be raised only in the Catholic faith and will be baptized. Now, Hindu may think that, how does it matter? It's just a dip in water. It takes 15 minutes. Beautiful ceremony. I mean, why not? I will do it because it doesn't matter. But down the road, 10 years down the road, if there is a divorce and there is a fierce child custody battle, you want the children, the other party wants the children, the other party will come up and show that, look, this is the prenuptial, you signed it. The children will be Christians only, and you will lose your child custody battle. So as much as Hindu, I use the word fake conversion. Hindu have no shame in fake converting. But what do you want? Baptism? No problem. I'll get baptized. I'll convert to Christianity. I mean, I will be saying what I am. Nobody will find it out. What I'm saying is the fake conversion is bad. It's a lies and deception. You are insulting the Christian institutes. They have the value of their baptism and a lot of deep meaning for it. What you are trying to do is you are trying to fool them. And you are making your married life on a lies and deception as your foundation. You should be very honest and upfront. No, I don't understand these things. I don't believe in this one. I don't believe in Judgment Day. I don't believe that the child born on the first day is a sinner. That's a fundamental belief of Christianity. I don't believe Jesus is the only one who saves. Yes, Krishna also saves, and Allah saves, and all that. So you have to just be honest. And if you be honest, you have a good chance of having a successful, happy married life forever.
Yeah, I do understand. And especially coming from Hinduism background, we believe in Ekam Sat Vipra Bahuda Vadanti.
That is correct.
So absolutely, the absolute God, the Almighty God, Supreme God, whoever we call him, the Supreme God is one. But right. We call him through different names. So for us, that's why we don't have a problem in conversion, because we can see God as Jesus, Allah.
That is correct.
We can see God as Krishna, Rama. In our faith itself, we have so many gods, plenty of gods, and we don't mind adding some more gods because, and we see that we see Nirakar Brahman. We can see the infinite Nirakar Brahman can also take a form because he is infinite. By saying it's infinite itself, the finite Sakar is also part of infinite. So it's a simple math. So I mean, we do believe.
The only problem is with an exclusivist supremacist, you are not adding a god, but you are removing all your other gods. So you are not adding Jesus, but you are removing Rama, Krishna, Ganesha, and all those. No more.
You're only focusing on one God.
Right. And that is my God, not your God.
Not your God. So, okay. So that might in the beginning, it might be okay, but down the road, it might create problems because you've been raised differently. So
and there are many, this baptism is just a beginning. Once you baptize yourself to get married, you thought it's only 5 minutes, but then your children will have to be baptized. Your children will have names, Christian names from Bible. You will be going and sitting on church benches every Sunday 10 to 12 because you are a Christian. You will pay up to 12% of your gross income to the church to be a member
Why
of
do,
that church.
why do you have to pay 12%?
That is something Hindus don't understand. In Hindu Mandir, there is a donation box. You put it on whatever you want. Nobody sees that. No, that's not the way it works. For Christians, every Christian, you are a member of the church. You have to pay 3 to 12% of your gross income. It goes straight from your paycheck to the church. For Muslims, you have to give 2.5% of your total asset every year. So if you have 10 millions, 2.5%, that much will go to the mosque. And Jewish also 3 to 12%. So to be those Abrahamic faiths, it's a very costly affair. And that's something you have to really understand.
So is it a mandatory thing? It's required?
You want to be part of that church, you have to be. Now, dharmic faiths, there is no membership. Whoever walks in Hindu temple is part of the things. No, that's not the way it works. These faiths, you have to be member of that church. And to be member, you have to follow certain requirements. And if you cannot follow requirements, including your payments, then you will be kicked out of that particular church.
That's something to know.
It goes even further. There is a case in my book, Maya. Hindu girl was in love with a Christian boy, and they says, nope, we don't want believe in conversion. That's individual decided. 3 months before 6 months before, that boy says, I want the wedding in a church. So Maya says, no problem. I would love church wedding. We'll have a Hindu wedding. Then once church got involved, church says you cannot have Hindu wedding. So Maya got confused. But she says, okay, no problem. We'll have the church Hindu wedding, very small one. Nobody will know it. And church wedding. So she says, okay, they solved the problem. Further, the church says Maya has to convert or sign this prenuptial agreement. And Maya says, wait. We've been waiting for 6 years. This was never discussed. I will not convert. So the priest is telling that if Maya does not convert, Christian boys in parents, the Christian parents, they have a burial site in their church. When they die, they want to die with Jesus, that place. They're going to remove that burial site and they will take away their rites of communion in that Christian church. And now there is so much pressure on these Christian parents. They want to die right way. And just because of this stupid Maya, they cannot die proper way.
So if the son's bride is not getting converted, there's a pressure on the parents.
Right. So
their name will be taken away. So there's a lot of pressure for the boy to get his girlfriend before getting married converted to.
That is correct.
Christian.
So the question is, I always tell people, there is no problem with any religion. There is no problem with the scriptures. There is no problem in getting love. The problem is the religious institutions. As soon as in your love going wonderful, rah, as soon as the church get involved, as soon as the imam get involved, as soon as the rabbi gets involved for Judaism, you will find out that things get turned completely upside down.